Mark Bullock, BMA Biotech.
Thank you for joining the program today. We're talking with Mr. Mark Bullock about one of the hottest topics, a very important topic going on right now in pipeline remediation. And of course, you've got a lot of experience when it comes to dealing with that topic. So tell me a little bit about how you're involved with this sub niche of an industry going on right now. Let the listeners know about your experience, I guess, is where I'm going with it.
So our experience with pipeline remediation, it's not as long as some people would expect, but during the downturn a few years ago, we were approached by a number of companies, mainly in the Eagleford area, who were having issues in removing paraffin wax deposits from their pipelines on a cost-effective standpoint. They were finding that the chemicals they were using to do pipeline remediation alongside pigging operations were not costly on the gallon price to buy, but they would require 3 to 4 times the amount to basically flush the line through to remove all paraffin deposits. So they asked us if we had a product which was sustainable and cost effective for them to use. At the time we didn't, so we then developed a new type of chemical solution which combines natural extracts and a pseudo-solvent, which the pseudo-solvent penetrates through the wax deposition. In fact, inorganic and organic deposition on the inside of pipelines, it penetrates through. And then the microemulsion, which is made from natural extracts, gives a surfactant qualities, laminates the particles that are removed, and then stops them from rebinding elsewhere in the pipe.
Talk to me about the product. Is it something that is pretty friendly to the EPA and regulators and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so one of the designs that we were one of the design specs we were basically asked for was a product which was biodegradable, and the reason for that was obviously at the time there was a lot of regulations which people thought were going to come in affecting the chemicals within the oil and gas industry. So that's why we use natural extracts, because we believe the regulations were going to go a complete different tangent to petrochemicals, but unfortunately it never did. And so we encompass these extracts, which are 100% biodegradable in 75 days. They're non-toxic, non-flammable. In fact, on our YouTube channel, we've produced a couple of videos which show exactly how safe these products are, and also how effective they are at removing paraffin wax.
I wrote down a few notes here while we were talking, and one of the things I wanted to mention off air, we've talked in the past a little bit, and you've got a family involved in oil and gas. You mentioned at the early onset of the interview that your company doesn't have vast decades of experience in this particular niche side of the business, but you have oil and gas experience within the company and the family lineage. But then also this service that we're talking about, this product that you guys are talking about, really came out of a demand for integrity and science. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah. So I'll address the family points. Yeah, I mean, I've got immediate family who have worked in the oil and gas industry for over 40 years combined. I don't like to refer to myself as a second generation oil and gas man, because to be quite honest, I believe in making my own path within the industry, and I don't want to live off anyone else's reputation. What we basically do with our contacts, especially with our family contacts, is we don't use them in a sense of stick their name to my company. We turn to them when we need advice and guidance. So we're learning from the older generation, because what we're seeing that's quite consistent throughout the industry at the minute, and I've spoken to quite a few people about this, the younger generation, I don't think want to listen to the older generation of the industry, because they see their methods as archaic and very different to what they now see in the industry, with the automation and everything else. So we turn to our family connections and say, hey, X, Y, and Z. And 9 times out of 10, actually, we've had an instance where we had a client phone us up, wanted something done with a couple of wells, they sent us a very small amount of data. I put the data in front of one side of the family, and they pinpointed exactly what was wrong, and they gave a very in-depth analysis. And then I went back to the company and said, hey, just a few more questions. Is it, are we looking at this correctly? And they come back and said, yeah, basically what you're saying is correct. We never even told you that, the well was like this or something like that. And what was the other part again, Jason? I forgot.
Oh, the other part? It was about the science. So,
Oh, yeah.
And then also the integrity of the industry. And
Yeah.
I want to talk about that a little bit too, because, I think you've pretty much let listeners know that you guys have got a science team, a chemist team, and, you guys are coming up with your own proprietary products, and they're biodegradable. And I think you mentioned 75 days. They're, they've got that behind it. But there is a certain vetting that's going on, and in the past on my programs we've talked about it from the retirement angle, which is 70% of the industry is going to be retired by, I think, 2022 or something like that was the numbers. It started 5 years ago, the retirement started, but by 2022 I think something like 60-70% of the industry will be fleshed out in a new set of, millennials, Gen Xers, Gen Ys, whatever, are going to come in. And there is that concern about an understanding for a respect of what's been built, especially when you talk about an appreciation and a respect for the land. I mean, the oil companies, they have gone so far above and beyond to make sure they have relationships with these landowners and to make sure that these reclamation programs are top notch and remediation and everything along those lines. You mentioned something about how companies were like circling back to you guys because of, your contacts and just, I guess, the integrity you guys had as business people. There is a lot of new people trying to come in, and I call them chuck and jivers. Guys, you kind of come in, Herb Tarlick from WKRP in Cincinnati, and just a real salesy type person that's promising the moon and snake oil and a lot of those different things. Talk to me about just the respect of the industry, the integrity of the industry, because it sounds to me like that was what kind of grew that side of your business.
Yeah, so, I mean, integrity and the scientific aspect all goes hand in hand. So what we were finding mainly, not just in the flow assurance side, but also soil remediation side and other parts of the chemical side of the oil and gas industry, was people were distorting scientific advancements from the last 20 years to make them fit their own little product niche. And with that, I mean, oil and gas companies, yes, they are going above and beyond an executive and higher levels. But then what we're seeing is sometimes, as you described, these trick and jivers have contacts within that company who will sort of reinforce these claims. A prime example, I've heard companies claim, especially on soil remediation, that their product turns crude oil into nothing more than harmful sand. When you say it like that, it means nothing. But when you actually think about it, think about what they're saying. It turns crude oil into sand. That is scientifically impossible because there is just not a chemical process for that.
Well, and that's an important statement because, when you take a look at the herd mentality that sometimes can happen in oil and gas, and CEOs will be very upfront that's one of the oil and gas's biggest weaknesses is the herd mentality.
Yeah.
And so when somebody of those, the snake oil salesman, the P.T. Barnum, the chuck and jiver, whatever, when they penetrate through, which they do occasionally, it can become pretty detrimental to the industry for a while because that's when things happen. That's when things go wrong. And that's why there is such an important vetting process, I believe, going on. And there should be. There really should be because from my standpoint, we've been pretty upfront on this program that it's the last essence of capitalism there is. There's not much capitalism left in other industries anymore because they're just so highly regulated and subsidized that this industry, even though it is regulated, still at least offers a form of capitalism that is true to its core. And I like that because they continue to give back to the communities. But your proprietary product, your integrity with the company. Talk to me a little bit about this little sub niche industry that's been created now. Now we're talking about pipeline remediation, flow assurance solutions, that sort of things. But just this industry itself has really become quite. I don't know if it's under the microscope or it's just gotten so big.
I think especially with the pipelines, I think what it comes down to, especially within the last few years, where the likes of the Permian has just thrown out millions of barrels of oil a day, and the pipelines are now at a choke point. So there's an emphasis on to produce as much oil as possible, but also save it sat around in storage tanks, make some money off it. So there's these conventional set of products which really haven't changed in the last 50 years. They're petrochemical based, and what basically tends to happen is they're using petrochemicals to remove petrochemicals, petroleum extracts. So it will emulsify a lot of the paraffin wax, for instance, especially xylene-based products will emulsify the paraffin wax. And the solvents that are within, the surfactants that are within these products are supposed to do like ours and coat the emulsified wax, but it doesn't do that. It allows it to rebind to other surfaces further on downstream. So we've had instances where operators have had a blockage in a pipeline from wax buildup, and they've tried everything, and literally their last resort was to cut the section of pipe out and replace it. But then on the off chance, they've heard about my company from one avenue or another. We send the product down there, and we've got a very good gimmick where, you tell us your problem, whether it's flow assurance, soil remediation, or whatever, and if our product doesn't work, we will refund you your money, because that's how much faith we have in our product, and that's how much integrity we're trying to build. Is we're not there to make a fast buck like some companies. We are there to provide genuine solutions based on modern scientific advancements, to benefit the industry as a whole. We don't see the industry like some companies do as a cash cow. And, when you go on about these chuck and jivers, this company that claims their product can turn crude oil into natural sand, pay 3 cents a gallon for their product, from a wholesaler. They actually sell that to certain members in the industry for $75 a gallon. That's more than a profit. That's more than a profit margin. That is extortion. And that's when people come back to us and they're like, we've been paying $75 a gallon for this or $65 a gallon for that, but we honestly don't know what it does. We've seen other chemicals that claim to, oxidize crude oil. Yes, you can oxidize crude oil, but the chemicals that these other companies are selling actually don't oxidize crude oil, and they're not administered correctly. What basically people are seeing now within the industry of, where you say a lot of people are being vetted, unfortunately, these people are already in the industry. They've built this reputation up of being, we're the best thing that there is. Our product will make, you buy 2 gallons off me, that's going to make you 4 gallons. Where we're coming into the industry and making money is because our products at a very low end, 1 gallon will make you 100 gallons. Or at the very high end, 1 gallon will make you 10 gallons. So we're cost effective, we're sustainable, and we actually don't lie to our, I would say lie, that's a very strong word. I would say we don't misrepresent our products. We say exactly what they are, what they can do, and if you've provided us with all the information that we should need for, supplying a product for your own means, and it doesn't work because we've missold it to you, we will happily refund you the money, because that, the fault is on us. It's not on the operator, it's on myself or my company. And that's how we're trying to build this, our reputation up is, people are using scientific advancements where, unless if you've just come out of college or university outside, as they call it, university outside the US, you're not really going to know about these new compounds. And if you do, a lot of scientists, will read papers, but sometimes it's, just not enough information on the compounds that people are using. Where we use proven compounds for each product, and it's as simple as that. We're just trying to help the industry out as best we can, and that's why people are circulating back to us, is because, we have clients who change to the snake oil products, for want of a better word, and what we find is after about a week, the client then comes back to us because they've just suddenly listened to what we've said to them before they left us. Try this with the product or try that with the product. See what it actually does in a jar. If you want to see what a jar test looks like with soil remediation, again, go on our YouTube channel. There's a soil remediation video on there of how our product works. Replicate the experiment on top of a bench top. That's all you've got to do. With the product that you're using, and again with paraffin wax removers, get a sample of paraffin wax, smear it on the inside of a jar, and put the chemical in. See what it does, because that's where we're seeing now is a lot of companies aren't looking at the products; they're just looking for the solution, and it's not a bad thing. It's not the fault of the companies who's purchasing the products; it's the fault of the companies who's selling the products, because all they're there for is just to make a quick buck.
Earlier I mentioned flow assurance. I wanted to make sure that we talked about that, and I see that, I'm looking at the clock and everything, but talk to me a little bit about the flow assurance side of the product.
So when we developed what we call hydrocarbon multi-clean, it was specifically designed to remove paraffin wax deposition from pipelines. And what we're finding as, what we found as the development stage went on, was the product wasn't just removing the paraffin wax, it was removing other scale and, such as iron sulfide that builds up inside the pipelines. And on top of that, it was actually coating the inside of pipes. So it was reducing deposition of all types, preventing corrosion for up to 30 days. And, it was just one of those products where we designed it for one thing, for the pipeline, for removing paraffin wax from pipelines, but then it sort of morphed into other applications for the industry within the sense of pipelines, because it provided not only removal but also protection after use. Again, the protection aspect is only for 30 days tops, depending on flow rate, because obviously the microfilm count will be sheared off with the force of the production fluid going past. And when the product is actually finished being used, you can actually separate it from paraffin wax or crude oil deposits or anything that's encrusted on the inside of the pipe. Because what you'll find is, especially with paraffin wax, you'll have a layer of paraffin wax and a small slither of oil in the middle of that, and more paraffin wax will bind onto it. You can actually separate out HMC from paraffin wax or the iron sulfide or whatever scale you removed, and reuse the HMC product up to 4 times. So again, that's another cost-effective point we've done on that is, we developed the product to make sure that the operators could get the maximum amount of value out of the product as possible. So it's not a one-shot, one-wonder product.
Talk to me about if people can get in touch with you and find out more information if they want to set up, something for you to come by and show them what you got.
Yeah, so, if people want to see what our products can do, they can log on to our YouTube channel. So just basically go onto YouTube and just type in BMA Biotech. Or they can go to our website at www.bmabiotech.com. Or they can call us directly on 832-886-4867. Or again, they can email us at info@bmabiotech.com.